When Anthony Bourdain died on June 8, 2018, the world lost more than just a celebrity chef. Fans mourned the loss of a man who brought the world closer together through food, travel, and fearless storytelling. Anthony wasn't just a voice for the culinary world. He was a voice for anyone who had ever felt restless, curious, or hungry for something more. But while his life looked like a dream from the outside, it was far from picture perfect. For years, Bourdain's ex-wife, Busia Bourdain, stayed quiet about the struggles that defined their life together. But now, she's opening up about the reality of being married to a man whose brilliance was matched only by his chaos, and in this video, we'll walk you through it. You see, Anthony Bourdain's life began in Manhattan on June 25, 1956, and from the start, he was surrounded by a cocktail of intellect, culture, and a dash of chaos. His father, Pierre, was a French Catholic who spent his summers in France and worked in the classical music industry, and his mother, Glattus, was a no-nonsense editor at the New York Times. With parents like that, you'd expect Bourdain to grow up reading Proust and playing a cello, not sneaking into restaurant kitchens and slurping oysters off a fisherman's boat. Bourdain's childhood in Leonia, New Jersey, was far from the typical suburban experience. He didn't lack love or attention, but he did envy his classmates' wild, unsupervised freedom. While he was dutifully participating in Boy Scouts and probably being told to respect the French side of the family, he was quietly yearning for something more rebellious. That craving first surfaced during a family vacation to France, when young Anthony tried an oyster, and it changed everything. After graduating from Dwight Englewood School in 1973, Bourdain gave college the old college try at Vasser. But 2 years in, the allure of academia couldn't compete with the sweaty, chaotic kitchens of Provincetown, Massachusetts, where he worked in seafood joints like the Lobster Pot. The energy, grit, and cast of eccentric characters working behind the line became Bourdain's new classroom, and he decided to ditch Vasser and go all in. This decision led him to the Culinary Institute of America, where he sharpened his skills before graduating in 1978. From there, Bourdain stormed into the New York City restaurant scene, running kitchens at hotspots like Sullivan's and 1/5 Avenue. But while he could sear a steak and write a menu, his real superpower was storytelling. In fact, back in the mid-1980s, long before he became the globe-trotting food icon we all knew, Bourdain was hustling on Manhattan's Lower East Side and trying to break into writing. He started sending out unsolicited pieces to a local literary magazine called Between C and D. One of his first published stories was about a chef hunting for heroin, a gritty, honest tale that mirrored the chaos he often saw in the culinary world. He didn't stop there. In 1985, he enrolled in a writing workshop led by Gordon Lish, a legendary editor known for his tough critiques. This experience helped him hone his raw voice, but even with talent, breaking through wasn't easy. In 1990, Bourdain managed to land a small book deal with Random House after impressing one of their editors. His first novel, Bone in the Throat, hit shelves in 1995. It was a culinary murder mystery that had all the wit and sharpness you'd expect from Bourdain, but the book barely made a dent in sales. Undeterred, he funded his own book tour, pounding the pavement to promote his work. His second novel, Gone Bamboo, came out a few years later, and flopped just as hard. For most people, that might have been the end of the dream. But Bourdain wasn't most people. While the writing didn't immediately pay off, it laid the groundwork for what came next: television. His breakthrough memoir, Kitchen Confidential, published, blew the lid off the restaurant industry and catapulted him into the spotlight. Suddenly, his unique blend of brutal honesty, sarcasm, and deep respect for food and culture caught the attention of the Food Network. They offered him his first show, A Cook's Tour, which premiered in 2002. The concept was simple: travel the world, eat everything, and talk about it. The show ran for 2 seasons, but it was just the beginning. By 2005, Bourdain had found his stride with Anthony Bourdain. No reservations on the Travel Channel. This wasn't your average food show. Sure, there was plenty of eating, but it was the way Bourdain connected with people that made it special. It wasn't about fancy restaurants. It was about street food, local traditions, and the stories behind the meals. He had a knack for blending humor with profound insight, making you laugh one moment and think deeply the next. One of the show's most intense moments came in 2006, when Bourdain and his crew were filming in Beirut. What started as a typical shoot turned into a harrowing experience when the Israel-Lebanon conflict erupted. Stranded in a hotel with other expatriates, Bourdain documented the tension, the fear, and the humanity of the situation. With the help of a local fixer, whom he nicknamed Mr. Wolf after the problem solver in Pulp Fiction, the crew was eventually evacuated by U.S. Marines. That episode wasn't just about food, it was about survival, resilience, and the unexpected ways conflict can bring people together. It earned an Emmy nomination and solidified Bourdain's reputation as a storyteller who could tackle subjects far beyond the plate. Bourdain's voice was unlike anyone else's. As Nigella Lawson once said, he had an incredibly beautiful style that could switch from poetic to hilariously vulgar in the same breath. But while Bourdain was publicly enjoying all of this success, his private life was a roller coaster. Anthony's first marriage to Nancy Putkoski started out like something straight out of a high school romance. They met at Dwight Englewood School in New Jersey, and Bourdain, captivated by Nancy's rebellious streak, followed her to Vasser College in New York. Their relationship grew stronger, and by 1985 they were married. Nancy was there for Bourdain through the tough early years of his culinary career, supporting him as he worked his way up in the kitchen world. But as Bourdain's career took off, especially after Kitchen Confidential became a hit, things began to change. The fame, the constant travel, and the spotlight all started pulling them in different directions. Nancy, who preferred a quieter, more private life, wasn't really into the growing public attention that came with Bourdain's success. Over time, the cracks in their relationship started to show, and in 2005, they divorced. Even so, Bourdain always spoke highly of Nancy and the role she played in his life. After his marriage to Nancy Putkoski ended, Anthony's life took a new turn when he met Ottavia Busia, an Italian businesswoman and mixed martial artist. The two were introduced by Bourdain's close friend, renowned chef Eric Reipert, who thought they'd be a perfect match. Despite their 22-year age difference, the chemistry between Bourdain and Ottavia was undeniable. At the time, Ottavia was managing a New York restaurant called Geisha, and their shared interest in the restaurant world quickly bonded them. Ottavia's path to the U.S. and the restaurant industry was anything but typical. Originally from a small town in Italy, she had been studying to become a dentist before a change of heart led her to leave for the U.S. with just $300 in her pocket. She found herself working in New York's competitive restaurant scene, where she eventually landed the job as the general manager of Geisha. It was there that she met Bourdain, and their connection took off from the start. Bourdain was fascinated by her journey, and they quickly became inseparable. Their relationship moved fast. Within a short time, they were already talking about tattoos, and by 2007, Bourdain had not only finalized his divorce, but also married Ottavia and become a father. Their bond grew deeper over shared conversations after Ottavia's long restaurant shifts, where they would talk for hours about her day and Bourdain's past experiences in the business. While this might have seemed mundane to others, for them, it was a meaningful way to connect. As their relationship developed, the couple found themselves navigating the challenges that came with their demanding careers. Ottavia continued to work right up until she went into labor, while Bourdain's increasing fame took him further and further away from home. The strain of their busy schedules eventually became a difficult balancing act. Yet through it all, their connection remained rooted in their shared love for food, culture, and the unpredictable nature of their lives. As much as Bourdain loved being a father, the demands of his career made it difficult to balance family life. Traveling for parts unknown kept him on the road for almost 250 days a year, and the strain from being away so often began to wear on his marriage. Despite the love he had for his daughter and the joy fatherhood brought him, his relationship with Otavia couldn't withstand the pressure. In 2016, they made the tough decision to separate. And just like he did after his first marriage, Anthony moved on almost immediately after, even before his divorce was finalized. This time, with Asia Argento. When Bourdain first met Asia Argento, it was like something out of a teenage crush. According to his friend Steed, Bourdain was so taken with her that he couldn't help but gush, comparing the feeling to the excitement of his first serious relationship. The chemistry between them was undeniable, and their connection quickly escalated. Bourdain, who had always been known for his open personality, couldn't stop raving about her, both in interviews and on Instagram. As their relationship deepened, it became clear that Bourdain was fully invested. He was a strong vocal supporter of Argento, especially when she became a leader in the #MeToo movement. He admired her courage when she spoke out against Harvey Weinstein, and he showed unwavering loyalty, always standing by her side. Their bond was more than just romantic. It was built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of their respective careers. But as intense and passionate as their connection was, it wasn't without its challenges. Both Bourdain and Argento had demanding, travel-heavy careers that kept them apart for long stretches of time. They made the decision to keep their relationship open, giving each other the freedom to pursue their individual paths while still maintaining their bond. Though this arrangement worked for a while, the distance and time apart eventually created tension. The pressures of their busy lives, coupled with their intense personalities, led to complications that were hard to navigate. Even so, Bourdain seemed more content than ever with Argento in his life. He talked about how much happier he was with her around, feeling a sense of joy and fulfillment he hadn't experienced in a long time. While he wasn't interested in remarrying, he was open to living together, finding comfort in the simplicity of their connection. Work was always a priority for Bourdain, and he appreciated that Argento understood and respected that. They tried to make it work by having what they called a free relationship, where both had the space to pursue their passions, but remained emotionally connected. While this arrangement worked at first, the distance and busy schedules eventually took their toll, and cracks started to show in their relationship. What no one saw coming, though, was that it would lead to Anthony's tragic death. In the days leading up to his death, Bourdain seemed overwhelmed by a mixture of exhaustion, loneliness, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction with his life. Fame, which had once been something he embraced, had started to feel like a cage. He hated the attention, the constant expectations, and the way it seemed to separate him from the things that once mattered most. It was as if the more successful he became, the less connected he felt to the real world, and that distance only seemed to grow. His relationship with Asia Argento was also falling apart, and the strain between them was palpable. The intensity and passion they once shared had soured. He had been hurt by the rumors of her affair and couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, especially when he learned that the affair had happened in a hotel that had special meaning for them. The emotional weight of it all was unbearable for him. Despite his attempts to reach out to Argento, asking if there was anything he could do to fix things, the response was cold and dismissive. Their connection, which had once been full of promise, had crumbled into an exhausting back and forth that only deepened his sense of isolation. As the hours passed, Bourdain seemed to retreat further into himself. The emotional toll of his personal struggles, compounded by the pressures of his career, took a devastating toll. He was left grappling with feelings of emptiness and abandonment, and despite his attempts to find a way through, there was no escape from the overwhelming sadness that clouded his final days. On June 8, 2018, the world was rocked by the sudden and shocking death of Anthony Bourdain. While filming an episode of Parts Unknown in Kaisersberg, Vignoble, France, Bourdain was found dead in his hotel room at Le Chambard Hotel by his close friend, chef Eric Reipert. Bourdain had missed dinner the night before and breakfast the following morning, prompting Reipert to check on him. Tragically, he discovered that Bourdain had taken his own life. The news of Bourdain's death spread like wildfire, leaving those who knew him and admired his work in complete disbelief. Bourdain, known for his adventurous spirit, sharp wit, and ability to connect with people across cultures, had seemed invincible to so many. His passing was a gut-wrenching reminder that even those who seem to have it all and bring joy to millions can struggle with inner demons. While Bourdain's death was a devastating blow to many who admired him, what followed in its aftermath was equally surprising. His ex-wife, Otavia Busia, shared insights into their relationship after his passing, offering a glimpse into the complexities of Bourdain's life that hadn't been publicly known. In the wake of Bourdain's heartbreaking death, his ex-wife Otavia shared her reflections on the difficult period following their 2016 separation. In the documentary Roadrunner, she described the gradual shift she noticed in Bourdain's demeanor after they went their separate ways. The vibrant, adventurous spirit she once knew seemed to dim, weighed down by an emotional heaviness that became more apparent over time. When Bourdain decided to seek therapy, Otavia initially felt reassured. It seemed like a positive step, and she believed he was managing his struggles. This gave her the sense that she could take a step back, trusting that he was finding his way forward. But looking back, she admitted to feeling a deep regret that she hadn't kept a closer watch on him during those crucial moments. The documentary captured the full arc of their relationship, from their introduction through their mutual friend Eric Reipert to their marriage, and then the decision to separate. Despite the end of their marriage, their bond remained significant, making his downward spiral even more painful for her to process. Her reflections underscore the complex and often conflicting emotions that come with caring for someone who is struggling. The hope that things are improving, the guilt of stepping back, and the enduring heartache of wondering if more could have been done. Another part of Anthony's life that isn't talked about enough was his struggles with addiction. Bourdain's struggles with addiction were more than just a chapter in his life. They were part of the messy, unfiltered reality that made him so compelling. In the 1980s, while navigating the intense world of New York City kitchens, Bourdain was caught in a cycle of substances. The chaotic nature of the restaurant industry at the time only fueled his habits, and his descent into addiction was relentless. At his lowest points, desperation led him to search his carpet for what he hoped were leftover bits of crack. That darkness wasn't something Bourdain hid. You see, when Kitchen Confidential brought him fame, he was brutally honest about the years spent battling substances and the despair that came with them. He described the feeling of being trapped in a downward spiral, where every attempt to climb out seemed futile. Yet, amid the chaos, there came a moment when Bourdain decided he had to change. He gave up heroin and cocaine, though he still leaned on alcohol. This wasn't a neat and tidy recovery story, but it was a choice that allowed him to pursue his passions and share his unique perspective with the world. What made Bourdain's journey relatable was his willingness to show the cracks, even after success. He didn't pretend that quitting substances erased his struggles. He spoke openly about the lingering battles with depression and the heavy thoughts that sometimes clouded his mind. For many, especially in the high-stress restaurant industry, his candor was a source of comfort, proof that even the most celebrated figures wrestled with the same demons. But looking back, his relationship with darkness was complicated. References to mortality and suicide were scattered throughout his writing and interviews, not in a sensational way, but as if he were always in conversation with his own pain. These weren't just passing thoughts, they hinted at a struggle that never truly went away. It's hard to dismiss the idea that his final act was a culmination of battles he'd been fighting for most of his life.